Are you serious?
Hello, this is How to Kill an Hour. My name is Marcus Bronzy. There's plenty of ways to kill some time out there. Thank you in advance for killing some time with us. This is part 2 of our best interviews of the year episode. So if you haven't listened to the first part, go back one episode and have a listen to that. In that episode, we had Kofi Kingston, the guys from Top Gear, Paddy McGuinness, Chris Harris, Noel Clark, Ashley Waters, Tiz Elias, Russell Kane, Jonathan Pye, aka Tom Walker, Big Zoo, and yeah, loads of great content in there. Today's episode, we're going to kick off with episode 363, Romesh Ranganathan. And on this episode, we spoke about loads of the projects he's been doing because this guy is motherfucking busy. Even during lockdown, he was churning out content on TV, his own personal content everywhere. Anyway, we spoke about Rob versus Romesh, which is where him and Rob Beckett basically try and do things and aren't very successful. But we also get to learn how challenging some of these things are. One of them involves him putting his hand in a very interesting part of an animal.
One of the things that we had to do in South Africa was we went on safari and they wanted to see if a rhino was pregnant. So we went out with a vet to see if this rhino is pregnant. So the way that you do that is you insert a probe. You don't want to cause any harm to the baby, so you don't go in through the frou-frou. What you do is you go in through the arsehole of the rhino with the probe. Now the problem with that is obviously the arsehole that whole cavity is, it's got shit in it. So Rob and I were tasked with the job of emptying out the rhino's anal cavity. So basically. We had to put on like a plastic glove up to the shoulder and then just make sure that it was completely free of... the problem is that when you grip onto something inside it, you don't know if you're gripping shit or actual rhino. Do you know what I mean? So you just have to sort of feel around and figure out if that's a ball of shit or a ball of the inside of a rhino's anus. And then just sort of just keep pulling it out. I've got to be honest with you. Do you remember when Rebecca Lewis wanked off that pig? I did think this might be our equivalent low point. Do you know what I mean? That pulling shit out of a rhino's arse. I
wanted to first things first. How do you think a rhino feels when it wakes up from that ordeal? Does it feel like it's had a colonic irrigation, or does it feel violated? I'm just curious.
I don't know. I wonder if it just sort of wakes up and goes. Before I went to sleep, I could swear I felt like I needed a shit. Yeah, but I feel like completely great now. I feel sort of I feel light on my feet. Yeah,
shit was so good I passed out. But that wasn't the only thing you did with shit in South Africa, though, was it?
Oh my god, mate! So when we went on safari, one of the games they play is I'll be honest with you, I was very against this, but because Rob agreed to do it, I agreed to do it. Is this sort of shit spitting where you kind of pick up a gazelle dropping and then you try and spit it as far as you possibly can. Would you have done that?
I don't think I could. I would have to be there and see the shit because what I didn't know was, is it an old dry shit? I was thinking because when you did it, when Rob did it, because he's kind of like, oh yeah, cool, yeah, I'll do that from watching the show. And you kind of think about it, but you had to think about it. I was like, if it's a dry pellet, cool. If it's like a squidgy wet pellet, fuck no, because that's getting squashed between my teeth, and I'm not pushing shit through my teeth ever in my life. Now, there's a point where you kind of just spit it out because you're like, I realised I've got shit in my mouth or something like that.
Well, yeah, the only way to play that game is to disengage from what it is you're doing, and then
100%.
I mean, all of a sudden you remember that it's shit. The other issue is if you put the shit in your mouth, even if it's like a dried pellet or whatever, and they start talking to you, and then what happens is you are rehydrating that shit, and it starts to become shit again. Do you know what I mean? So it's like. So I'm like, once I'm locked and loaded, it's go time. I don't need to have a chat with you. All right, let's just get this done. That was the problem I had. They kept like getting us to put it in our mouths and go, right, so what are you going to do? I don't give a fuck right now. I just need you to get me to the point where this isn't in my mouth now. Okay, so that was a problem.
And because it's TV as well, was that? I take it that was one of the shoots where they didn't say, "Oh, that's great, but we just want to get that from another angle. Can we do that again?"
Mate, there's some times where I just go, "You've got that." So do you know what I mean? And that was one of those times. We had a thing where, like, I did a show in the States, and one of the things that we did, we thought it'd be funny to scare my wife and my mum. We the back door to the house, we put like a big sheet of sugar glass in it, and I just said, if you think I was boring, if you think I'm boring, watch this. And I jumped through the window, right? And they obviously don't know it's sugar glass, and they all shit themselves or whatever. And it was terrifying to do because I just kept thinking I'm going to get the wrong door here and just kill myself. And then when we jumped through the door, the director goes to me, we might need to get that again. And I went, nah, we won't get that again.
You got that.
Yeah, if you haven't got that covered, you're going to have to do a fucking animation because I am not jumping through the door again.
Exactly.
I mean, go on.
Yeah, crack on. Yeah, no, crack on.
No, all I was going to say is I had to have this. I sort of started to regret saying it because it's anus themed as well. But
crack on.
I had to have an enema in Sri Lanka, and for Asian Provocateur, this TV show I did a while ago, and they lost the memory card. The camera that was actually on me, they lost that memory card. It went missing in transit or something like that. So that they said to me, "Oh, we might have to get you to do that again." And I was like, I don't see that being in my future. So actually, when you watch the show now, they just cut to the outside of the building and play some music.
Okay. I thought you were going to say it was someone else's ass that was
I've got
stunt ass.
I've got an anus double.
Yeah. Can you imagine the auditions for that? Fucking hell. But yeah, before we move on though, Rob and Romesh versus, I mean, a big part of the show is you guys have known each other for a while, right? I take it from the chemistry on the show because it comes across. But fuck me, do you piss each other off? How real is this pissing of each other off? Are you guys hyping out for the cam? Or is this all really how you rub each other up?
No, it's genuine, man. I mean, look, what I would say is that is our relationship. Do you know what I mean? So Rob is a really good friend of mine, but I would say 90% of the time we are like ripping the shit out of each other, and not in a fun banter way, bickering. We are bickering, do you know what I mean? And like sometimes, like we hosted the Raw Variety together, and like most of the time I was backstage, I was like, Rob, just fucking chill out. That was like me sort of backstage because he's so excitable. So what you see on screen is genuinely how we are. Do you know what I mean? It is kind of, it is, I mean, obviously it's heightened because Rob and I, when we normally hang out, we're not on our way to anally evacuate a rhinoceros. Do you know what I mean? So that puts you under a level of stress that means that those situations are heightened. Normally, Rob and I just be having a drink. You're not in those kind of high pressure situations where tensions are high, tempers are short or whatever. We're just chilling out. So it's not exaggerated, but I would say it's escalated by the pressure of the situation. Like when we did, the country and western one, we had to write and perform a country and western song at a club in Nashville. The pressure of doing that did mean that we started arguing with each other.
Yeah, argue they did, but the song that they came out with in the episode was actually... do you know what? No, I'm going to let you listen to that, actually. Another thing that Ramesh and I spoke about during episode 363 was obviously how COVID is affecting our lives. More specifically, how it's affecting the way that we exercise.
I realised that the only reason I ever stop eating is because I don't have food in my hand. And now I'm in a situation where I can have food all the time. And I do have food all the time. It's absolutely disgusting.
All of the time. But how is that going alongside the fitness classes? I'd like you to describe them to our listener as well. Please, crack on.
Well, the truth is that I can't stop eating, and so I said to my wife, if I don't get on top of some exercise, I'm going to die. I'm actually you're gonna have to cut me out of this house or some shit. Like I'm in deep trouble. And so my wife's a bit of a fitness fanatic. So one of the things that we've got into, it's two things actually. The first thing is that I've been doing for a while is this Peloton, which is this like It's a spin bike. It's pretty expensive. It's a spin bike, and they've got this. It's got a screen on it, and it's got all these online classes, so you can log on. And then these there's some British ones, but it's mainly American instructors going, "It's time to upgrade your hustle, huh? We didn't come here to play. We came here to maximize our gains," and all this shit. And then you sort of sweat out your ass for 45 minutes, and you feel good. And there's a leaderboard and all that shit. So I've been doing that. But the new thing that I've been doing during lockdown is Zoom fitness classes. Basically, what this is I mean the clue's in the name, really. It's a fitness class on Zoom. So basically, the instructor comes on. The whole class are in like a gallery view on Zoom, and then he starts shouting at you to start doing exercises, basically. So my wife and I have been doing this. We initially did it in the kitchen. The problem is that when you do a fitness class, which I haven't done for a long time, you're all facing forward, right? So your awareness of what anybody else is doing is pretty limited. When you're doing a Zoom class, everybody's looking at the whole grid of everybody else taking part. So you're on screen. And when we were doing it in the kitchen, we couldn't do it because there's so much debris from what we've been eating over the past week just in the background. It just undermines your whole thing. So we started doing it in the garden. But this guy, man, he's a really good guy, but it'll just like be like this. Okay, if anybody stops doing it mid-set, I'm going to add another minute onto this. So who's dropping out? Who's dropping out? And then you're just shitting yourself that this guy's going to go, oh, because Romesh didn't do a burpee, you've all got to do 20 more. Well done, Romesh. If everybody's angry about having to do more, thank Romesh, right? So what I've ended up doing is like just occasionally like jumping out of frame or pretending that I've accidentally star jumped out of the camera just so that I can just sit down for a little bit. Do you know what I mean?
Do you know what you should do? You should just freeze for a bit and just go...
No, do you know the other thing though? My wife is what I've discovered about her during lockdown, such a fucking teacher's pet, man. Like, it's so, she's always trying to squeeze out extra reps. When he goes 1 second left, she'll always do an extra one. And then he go, oh, Lisa, well done, man. You're really pushing it. And she's saying, fuck you. We're supposed to be doing this together. Do you know what I mean? It's supposed to be a supportive thing, not you throw me under the bus by doing your little extra reps. Anyway,
does she say words of like encouragement? Because that really fucking jars me. I'll be honest with you. Like when I'm in fitness classes, which I rarely am. I like to work out by myself. But when I was in fitness classes, when you've got like someone who's your mate with you, and they're like, "Come on, give it a bit more, give it more." I'm like, "Fuck you, you concentrate on your reps. You're all right. Don't watch my reps." I
don't. I like to do things where nobody is commenting on what I do not need a review. All right, just let me. It's as much as I could do to be here. Do not critique me. I do not need a TripAdvisor on how I'm doing my abdominal workout. All right, so just relax.
Work, champ.
But you know what she does? She combines that with finding my movements funny, and not deliberately so. Not in a way that's supportive or encouraging of my comedic talent. She just finds the way I do certain things funny. So uppercuts, for example, she says that looks like I'm shaking some sort of instrument. Burpees, she finds hilarious. Press ups, she says my form is comedically bad. So it's kind of like doing an exercise class during your own comedy roast. Do you know what I mean? Where you're just trying to get fit and there's just some yappy little shit next to you going, have you noticed the way that Romesh does press-ups? His ass is so high up in the air, it's like he's presenting to an approaching dog.
No one wants to accidentally do that, do they? And if you do, don't email me because I don't want to hear about it if you're into that kind of thing. Anyway, another thing that we spoke about during episode 363 was computer games.
I've been playing a lot of Fortnite, is the truth.
Yeah?
Well, basically... My kids, because we got 3 boys, and we've been doing homeschooling with them, and that turned to shit very quickly. So, because like everybody with kids, we had all of these aspirations of like doing some proper shit with them, and doing a full day's education. I used to be a teacher. My wife is, occasionally still teaches, but she used to be a full-time teacher. So we had all of these ideas of what we were going to do, and then it became really difficult because the kids are starting to get stressed out and stuff. And they've been playing Fortnite non-stop. And I don't know morally how I feel about our kids playing Fortnite, because essentially, for those of you that don't know, it's a game where you get dropped onto an island and you have to kill everybody else on that island. That's essentially the aim of the game. And our youngest son is 5, right? And like the other day, I heard him saying, "Oh, I've got an AR," and I said to my wife, "Should our son be talking about assault rifles? Should a 5-year-old kid be talking about assault rifles?" I think that's up for debate, you know. And you think about the differences, the disparity between what we think is acceptable for them to watch in film and on TV, as opposed to what we allow them to experience on video games. It's incredible to me. It's like, my wife was not sure about letting our kids watch Friends because they talk about sex and stuff. And I was like, they killed, like, between them, killed 35 people this morning. I think them watching Monica talk about how she wants to shag Chandler is probably going to be all right. You know?
You know what you just made me think, Ramesh? You made me think that the whole going into quarantine and coming out with a new skill set, your kids have taken that to a whole new level, bro.
Mate, if this is the apocalypse, I have got 3 of the best trained soldiers in the country willing to defend this house by all means. But the truth is, I was trying to like figure out a way of engaging with them, because obviously they're so obsessed with Fortnite. And but the thing is that they actually... The thing about it is they want to talk about Fortnite all the time. And so I just thought, I'm just going to join this, kids, because, you know, you could either take the approach of going, I'm sick of you talking about Fortnite. Can you stop going on about Fortnite? And so we went the other way, and I've joined. I've started playing Fortnite, and I sort of play it either from my phone or from my laptop. And it's mad, man. It's like they've started... They look after me in these squad battles. Do you know what I mean? It's like they'll go, "Dad, I've got a weapon for you. Dad, I've got a med kit for you. Come over here, Dad. You've not got a lot of health points. Come over here. Let me hook you up." You know, all this stuff. And it's like, basically, in the outside world, I look after them. I say I look after them, Mark, because I'm actually, me and my wife does mostly. She bears the brunt of it. And in Fortnite, they're looking after me. I mean, it's a nice way of connecting with your kids through a hideously violent video game.
Do you think Fortnite gets away with it because it's kind of cartoony looking? Like, it's not like COD looks real, doesn't it? It feels very like a simulation, but Fortnite's like a bit like, you know, it's a cartoon, isn't it?
Well, if they were playing COD, I would be much more worried, I think. Yeah. Excuse me. If they're playing COD, I'd be much more worried, and the reason is because, like you said, that is a war simulation. Do you know what I mean? Like that is so immersive. Whereas I look at my son and he's killed somebody, but on the other side of that, he is a banana. So you can sort of appreciate.
That wasn't a racial slur, guys. That wasn't a racial slur. I just want to say, Ramesh, freaking up 5 minutes in, bruv. It's right to the edge.
So you sort of go, and also there's no blood in it, really. Do you know what I mean? And even when you die, like the way that you die is like a light shines on you and you get sort of called up to Fortnite heaven. It's not quite. Yeah. It's not like your head comes off or anything like that. So yeah, I've kind of made my peace with it.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about how your teacher skills were faring at home with the homeschooling, but I think you've kind of answered that as well, haven't you?
Well, you know, I used to be a maths teacher. And the thing is that these kids, they're taught in a different way to how I was even teaching it. So when they ask me to show them how to do something, it's really weird. They make me feel old because they go, "That's not the way the kids are doing it, man. Like you're doing it in some old fart way." Do you know what I mean? Like that's not the way I was shown how to do it. So I'm having the experience of not being able to teach them, but also them losing respect for me professionally. As a former teacher, you know what I mean? So homeschooling has been treacherous, but I think it's been treacherous for everyone. Do you know what I mean? I actually think all parents, and I've been saying this a lot, parents, just give yourselves a break, man. We've been given a tough ask here, which is delivering an educational experience to our children on top of the inherent fear and anxiety that comes with a global pandemic. So you know what? Cut yourself some slack.
There was a reason why people had this specific job before you were in lockdown anyway. That's the whole point of school, right?
Correct.
And also, all parents out there, stop fucking pretending that you are homeschooling the next Einstein because you are the one teaching your child. So many people are like, today we learned quantum physics. No, you didn't. A YouTube video explainer is not learning quantum physics.
Listen, I've seen your Facebook post. You don't have the skills, all right? You haven't got it in your locker to deliver high-level education, all right? So stop fucking pretending.
Yeah, man, I hear that. So how about yourself when you're getting some downtime? How are you killing? I mean, you said Fortnite on a phone, actually. I want to go back to that because it's quite challenging playing it on a phone. I've tried it, and it's not like on a console. You get rinsed.
Well, this is what happened, right? Is that so I bought a Nintendo Switch, okay?
Yeah.
And I love that piece of kit. I think it's unbelievable in terms of like. I think for me, as like, you know, I would describe myself as a casual gamer. Like I like playing a lot, but I'm not one of these hardcore guys that goes in deep for 48 hours and all that shit. I just sort of dip in and out, right? So the Switch is great because it's got those kind of games that you can get really into. Like Zelda's pretty immersive and you can probably get into that. But then it's also got Mario Kart and shit like that you can just dip in and out of. Anyway, I bought a Switch for myself, but used the usual thing of telling my wife that I was getting it for the family because I'd read, you know, because I saw these like Switch family games and shit. And yeah, and anyway, what happened was that got commandeered by my children. So then what happened? So they started playing it non-stop. I wasn't even seeing the Switch, right? And the other thing is the lack of respect these kids have for expensive kit is absolutely disgusting. It's absolutely insane. I bought a case for it. The case is bulletproof. And yet they have scratched that piece, that Switch to shit. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. You know what? If I'd have showed you that Switch and said, "Oh, this comes from they salvaged this from a war zone," you go, "Yeah, it bears all the wear and tear marks of something that must have been, you know, it must have been in some sort of Middle Eastern country that was dealing with some heavy conflict." That's what that looks like. So I was furious, right? I was furious, but I was like, "Do you know what? Have that Switch, okay? Because do you know what? I've got another series of this show. I can afford to splash out and get myself another Switch. I'll get myself another Switch, right? The kids are with me when I buy the Switch, and I'm giving them all this lecturing about. Listen, you're not touching this, okay? This is my Switch now, right? Recognise, okay? You've got that Switch, and you've ruined it. That's yours now. You've made your bed, okay? Now you can lie in it. And then my son, he said to me, "We took the first Switch." He's 8 years old, this kid. Imagine an 8-year-old looking in the eye and he went, "We've taken the first Switch, we're going to take the second Switch, and we're going to take every single Switch you buy." Like, he said it like that, like he'd been possessed by... It was... Anyway, long and the short of it is, they did do that. So
he one second, he didn't threaten you. Yeah, he didn't tell you, he didn't give you an ultimatum. He said, "Dad, this is how it's going down."
You know, like how people talk about how when you really want to make something happen, you just speak it out loud and then the universe listens. And that's basically what he did. He went, "That Switch will be mine." And the universe answered because I haven't seen that Switch for months. So now what that means is and by the way, the kid's already got a PlayStation. All right. So now I'm in a situation where like a fucking chump, I've paid for 2 Nintendo Switches and I'm playing Fortnite on a fucking phone. That's how I've been emasculated by my children.
Poor Amish. I hope the rest of the lockdown was all right for him. Something tells me it was, because that guy, like I said, had churned out so much content, and I still is. Man, he's getting paid out here. Anyway, one of our other guests was 364 was the number of the episode. His name is Shaggy. If you don't know about Shaggy, you've been living under a rock for the last 30 years. He is a world-renowned superstar hailing from Jamaica. But did you know, before Shaggy was the Shaggy that we all knew, he was in the military. That must feel like a long time ago now. Serving in field artillery battery. Is that right? Is that what is that? I'm not a military man, I'll be honest.
I fire bombs, bro.
Really?
I fire 155 howitzers. I have the rounds is about 95 pounds. I throw them in a big gun. I fire it, and it's called indirect fire. You don't even see where it lands. They give you coordinates. You know what I mean? deflection, you know what I mean? Quadrant deflection, boom, get a grid square, and I blow up a grid square.
I'll be honest, you use a lot of military words right there. I didn't understand the way you said grid square. I understand big
quadrant
gun.
deflection.
Quadrant deflection. I don't know whether I'm watching Star Trek or listening to the army right now. Yeah, but
I fired howitzers.
What howitzers?
Big guns.
Oh, they're big
howitzers
guns.
They're huge. Big. Some of them are on wheels. Some of them have, are howitzers. Like they're like tanks.
Yeah.
But bigger guns that like a tank will fire, but it's a shorter range than a howitzer will go miles.
Really?
Go up grid squares. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. And I've read that you perfected your voice, or you formed some of your voice while you're working in the military. How true is this?
Well, the military raised me.
Yeah.
I didn't. People think I'll go to the military to fire a gun. I didn't go to the military to fire a gun or learn to fire a gun. The streets taught me that. The hood taught me that. I went to the military to learn how to balance my checkbook. That's where I learned to be disciplined and be on time and be have a drive and stay fit and keep your body in shape. And, all of that I've taken into my life today. I'm a neat freak to this day. The minute I'm cooking a lot now, so I'm eating, the minute I start to feel a little uncomfortable because my shirt might be getting a little tight. Then I stop eating and go back into training, and I'll do that at a heartbeat.
Yeah.
If I got something, if they look at me and says, okay, Shaggy, you're going to go out on tour in next month. I'm right in the gym,
for real,
getting ready for it the next month. It's like a boxer for a fight. You train for it. You know what I mean? So with my voice, I used to run and sing cadences in the military. I was like, I don't know, but I've been told my CO wears pantyhose, and I make these things up and sing funny cadences for for my squad, and they love it. You know what I mean? Because then I was just kind of mocking the drill instructors. The drill instructors talking, hey boy, you need to come over here, boy. Don't ball me, boy. You know what I mean? They'll put that, and they and then right after they're done, hey boy, stop, give me 20 now, boy. Like, hey yo, last night we went out. Was you right there? Yeah. So they'll have a conversation like that and just talk regular. You want to get man? When you having a beer, that girl over there, man, she was looking good. Hey, I want to see her, boy. Yeah, what you say? They'll do things like that, and you be like, that voice is a total put on, So when I was running and singing cadences, I'd do the same thing, just like, I don't know, but I've been told. Hey, y'all ready, everybody? Let's go. Put them up, let them up. I see a party. I was making a mockery of them.
Yeah.
The platoon was loving it because, obviously we want to make mockeries of our captors.
Of course.
That's what the drill instructors are. They're captains. They're like prison guards. You know what I'm saying? And, but I didn't know that was vocal training because I was running 3-4 miles singing from your gut, and the minute I did that in Old Carolina, like, oh my God, that's such a great stuff at the hit. Here's $1 million. Okay. Let's do it again.
The voice stays.
The lava. Yeah. Ooh, wow, that's great. Number one. Here's another $1 million. I'm like, I can get used to this. By the way, we could throw in a first class seat and suites.
I feel like,
and did I mention chicks? Chicks. What do you do, man?
I feel like if you throw that voice on, people definitely listen to you. So have you ever used it outside of music just to make somebody pay attention? I feel like if you're a dad telling off a child using that voice, they're gonna listen.
I told you, pick up your book and pick up your closet. No.
My back just straightened up.
My daughters will look at me like, what are you doing? And laugh and walk away from me.
What do they think you're music?
I have so no authorities with my daughters. Like there's no. If you think that you're a touring dad, doing music and you're a superstar and you think that you could trump mom, think again. That's nothing I said. It was like, yo, you need to go. Did you ask mom? I'm telling you.
Oh, bless him.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
So what do they think of Dad's music then?
I think they know my music and like my music, but not in front of me. Like they'll make me seem like I'm the corniest guy in front of me. But then I'll hear from other people like, oh yeah, they were singing the song or they like the song, or like my wife will look at me and says, did you know that they played you? I think it was You Girl, with me and Neil when we put it out, and she would play that in the car every morning. That was their song. And she told me, I was like, no, they don't. They don't even act like they like any of my stuff. And then she ended up secretly taping them one morning.
Yes.
While they were singing, and she turned her phone on and was like, yo, see, I told you. So that's how I know that they're really into it. But when they're in front of me, they ain't trying to do that. They're like, you're not going to come here and play superstar. You're dad. Now take me to horse riding.
We also spoke about why he still does what he does, because if I'm honest, I don't think Shaggy needs to work. So why does he?
I come from a little town in Kingston called Raytown, from a very poor family. I've been allowed to travel the world, be with some of my heroes, have them know my name, make enough money to take my family out of extreme poverty. You know what I'm saying? Send members of my family to school and colleges and shit. And how, this platform that I've been given, that I've been blessed with, because none of it is me. If I didn't use it if you ask me what my biggest accomplishments, it's not Grammys or any accolades. It's actually having the ability to actually touch people's life or improve people's life. You know what I mean? On a positive note. When I look up my friends and families, I wrote Hot Shot album, and when I wrote that album, it's 11 people that bought homes and started their lives. It's like somebody looking at you and says, "Oh man, you got, you've made so much records and you can make, you don't need the money. Why are you touring?" I'm like, you got to understand, when you go on tour, there is probably around 17 people that travel with. That's 17 electric bills, 17 school fees, 17, mortgages. Then when you go to a venue, and we just played the UK with Nelly and all of us, there's 20,000 people. So you probably have about 100 people that's working, from riggers to security to all of that. That is what it is. It has nothing to do with you. You know what I mean? You're just a facilitator for people to actually get their lives going, know? And if you don't realize that's your purpose, then you are totally friggin' lost. None of this is me. I'm a vessel, to move things forward. I might be sending a kid to school that might be the next person that cures cancer. The fuck I know. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. But how did that happen? Because I sang some song, made some money, and I was able to help and send, one of my cousins or somebody else's kid, or somebody else's kid that worked for me, went to college and furthered their education to the point of where they found a cure for cancer. It all snowballs, brother. So if you don't understand what your purpose is, that's it. My purpose is not fame, and my purpose is to use my platform and use me and my talents for the betterment of people. There's no other reason. I've passed the age of, I think when I just started was good because I got chicks. You know what I mean? I went to the club, I drank for free, I left with the hottest chicks, and it was chicks, fast cars and parties. I'm 51 years old, bro. You know what I'm saying? And I'm still doing really amazing things, making great music. And I was like, wow, really? It is what it is.
It sounds like you had your fill of fun time, Shaggy. I'll be honest with you. Being Mr. Lover for all those years, boy.
There've been some moments.
Yeah. That sounded very specific. Rolling into clubs, not paying for anything, rolling in with a nice car and taking the nicest girl in the venue. You must have had some green eyes on you back in the day when you were doing those kind of moves.
my brother, it was why I got into music. I wish I could tell it was deeper. You know, it's like, oh man, you know, I wake up in the morning and I have poetry on my mind, and I'm like, really? No. You know, I was in Flatbush, you know, selling weed at the time and spitting lyrics. When I spit lyrics, I realized that, you know, the girls would laugh. And I talk about their hairstyle, their bags, their shoes, and rhyme it all. And they'd be like, oh, so cute. You know, and then I get the number. You know, I go to a club because I was a, you know, ghetto superstar. I had that local hit that was popping. Yeah, dance hall hit. I go dance hall club. Yo, that's Shaggy. Come on in, man. I skip the line. Chicks want to come in with me because I skipped the line.
Of course.
You know what I'm saying? I go in. They got the table. I got the table right by the DJ. You know, I see him. I'm like, yo,
run my tune. Yeah.
Yo, big up Shaggy to the place. Yo, I'm in. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? The chicks like the camera guy come over. Yo, can I take a picture? The chicks be posing up. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then the, you know, promoters, you know, they send a couple of bottles over. You know what I'm saying? Yo, you know what I mean? You know, if you drink my bottles, I'm getting models. Stop it.
Appreciate the honesty there. Did you also know that Shaggy is one of the top reggae dancehall streamers on Spotify? And we also spoke about why we think that is.
I don't think it's the fact that we're the top. The three top streamers, myself, Sean, and I think Bob Marley.
Yeah,
and that's great company to be in. Don't get me wrong,
100%.
But I don't think that we're doing such great. I think the rest of the genre is doing so badly that we look great. You know, and I think that's a problem. If you look at all of the genres around, dancehall is the lowest streaming genre there is, and so that's a problem for us. And we got to find a way to get back into the game and get a seat at the table. You know, and you know, that is my mission at that point. I've had conversations with people like Sean Paul on a regular basis, and he's in that same vibe with me, where it was like, okay, it's a little scary. You know, we are what every music is influenced by, but yet still our genre is the lowest streaming, and that bothers us. You know what I mean? So we just got to find a way around it. You know, big up to Coffee, who you know, gave us a shot in the arm the other day. You know what I mean? And but you know, she can't do it by herself. We need a movement.
How do you?
We got to get her things together.
Yeah, how can we do this? That was going to ask you next. Is how can we fix this? You know.
Well, in me analyzing it, when I look at the numbers of songs that are streaming, 90s dancehall is what's streaming more. If you look at what Ed Sheeran and Rihanna and Justin Bieber and all these people are sampling, they're sampling 90s dancehall. You know what I mean? So I think with this new style of music, they're taking the dance out of the dancehall, you know, and it's just a generational thing, because if you look at nightclubs these days, don't have dance floors anymore. It's really tables and
bowls.
You know, so they're singing they're doing these real sing along. It's really a sing along type of a thing that's coming. And what is happening to do sing along dancehall? You know what I mean? If you listen to most of the sing-along dancehall, they're in raw patois. So the mainstream is not going to be singing along to raw patois. So it makes a song have a ceiling. You know, what used to make me and Sean get away with a lot of stuff was that we had the music, the beat, the dancehall beat kept them dancing, and we sounded good. So it didn't matter what we say. You're not hearing. It's like, I don't know. Oh, you make it do it, man. I'll tell you. You ever hear them sing? It wasn't me. No. But you know, it kept them dancing.
For real.
You know, the beat was there, and it kept them moving, and it was a vibe. You know, what I mean, I think now that you've taken the dance, because a lot of the music that they're doing now it's not as danceable.
Yeah.
You know, there's a groove there and all of that, but it's a lot of lyrical singing, and it's in raw patois. You know, and I think that might be an issue, because you got to kind of. I did it really smart. I would do like some patois words here. I'd do the dancehall melody, but I put some dancehall and some of the reggae, you know, some of the dancehall words in it. But then I make my hook have as much English to grab your ass like that. Be like, oh yeah, it's mine. Oh, honey came in that. So it's a mixture.
Yeah.
You know, you could do a honey came in there. It wasn't me. You getting all that shit. But then I put that. Right? Oh, you think you do woman on to your villa? That was raw. I know. When I was making that record, that nobody was going to understand it. They just say, whoa, that sounds good. And then by the time you do that for like 8 bars, they go back into, but you call me on the counter. It wasn't me.
Yeah.
I mean, so that was English. So you got to figure a way how to do it. A lot of these guys are just making records that are just straight because that's the environment they're in.
Yeah, I mean, you got away with saying some naughty things as well, though. You know, when you really break down the lyrical content, Shaggy, you got away with some spicy things. Even in Hot Shot, man's talking about discombobulating girls' parts. I'm like, whoa, okay.
Discombobulating parts.
man. And also, as well as that, I just want to do a public service announcement to all those listening. If you've never had a rub down or a wind to 90s dancehall, I feel like you're really missing out because there's nothing like that. I mean, getting a wind to lyrics and sing along to a chorus, that's okay. But getting a real rub in the dance.
Yeah, so I think that's part of the problem is just the dance is out of it. And big up to Ding Dong. A lot of these guys were really, keeping that whole energy up and that excitement up, A lot of cats that still do that because it's part of dancehall is colorful, you know. But you're seeing it, and a lot of the lyrics that these guys are talking are real hot. I mean, they're spitting some joints. There's a guy called T-Jabs out of Jamaica making some dope joints. But the problem, if the mainstream can't understand it, then for me as Jamaican, I know he's spitting some fire. For an average kid on the global scheme who don't know the culture like that, and not getting into it like that, it's gonna it's gonna be a hard one. Even a lot of Vibes Cartel who's had more success at that than the average person there, But I mean, again, if you go back and look at numbers, like you said, it's still different. The numbers still is not enough to really carry the whole genre.
What a great conversation with an international superstar. Now let's get a little bit closer to home. Munya Chihuahua came on the show for episode 367. And one of the first things we spoke about was how he gets his ideas together and how he wants to grow in the future. And since the conversation that we had back in July, the boy's career has continued to explode. Anyway, we'll talk more about that after this.
The honest answer is I don't really watch a lot of other content. And it doesn't come from... it doesn't come from any point of ego or arrogance. It's more to do with social media, as we well know, can very easily affect your headspace. And I find that as somebody who, is a perfectionist and wants to constantly better myself, in the rare minute that I haven't done something, if I see a piece of content that I feel like is of a certain quality or has hit on a niche that I didn't hit, I'll just sit there kicking myself going, why didn't I do that? Why was I being so lazy? Even if I didn't have a second free in the day. So the short answer is when I post a video, I'll go on there, maybe check the comments, make sure there's no sort of undercover EDL supporters in there trying to bring down the race, get them out of the comments. And then I'm just going to close it down and let it marinate a little bit, bring out that lovely jerky flavor. Then I might pop back on. But certainly I'm not in the habit of going through people's pages, and I ban myself from the explore page because that's where you'll catch that one thing that catches you off guard and makes you think I've been doing nowhere near enough, even if you've been going overdrive. I don't know about you. How do you feel about that?
You know what? And I'm not saying this to suck your ass, but one bit of content of yours that I genuinely thought, fuck, wish I did that. I don't even do comedy sketches online at the moment, right? It was the Craig David.
On my way to see my friends on FaceTime because we're all in lockdown. Had to order a Subway. There was nothing in Sainsbury's in front of me. A Deliveroo driver with a beautiful body. She asked me, is this mine? I said it cost her name, 60 the number, and a date with me on Zoom at night.
You gotta keep it real though. You gotta keep it real with people. People, 100%. I bet there's a lot of people that saw that and really liked it, and even your peers. And it's normal human nature to be like, oh yeah, that was cool, man. No, but that was fucking sick. And I can't lie, I saw it and I was like, fucking wish I did that, mate. So yeah, keep it real, man.
I appreciate that, man. I appreciate it a lot because I guess you just don't know you just never know when you're sat on one of these ideas.
Yeah.
And I think it's been a real blessing because now I understand how the game works.
Yeah.
You consistency is key. So I'll always try and do 2 things a week. But then sometimes you just hit on this one idea that it blows up, and it's blown up because people are just going crazy and they're flocking to it and you're getting all of these messages. And I think the Craig COVID thing, it nearly wasn't an idea because I thought to myself, I was going more along the lines of, let me do like a mock compilation CD with different artists that I'll play just a maybe 4 bar from a song that I'll make up, which would have been easier for me because I just have to write 4 bars. So it was going to be Western. So obviously there's Western, the group. We were going to call it West Hen. That's now been made into a full song. Initially, it's just going to be 4 lines. Craig COVID, again, was just going to be 4 lines. And anyway, I was writing those 4 lines and I thought, I reckon I've got a bit more in me to keep writing. So the hook got done and then a bit of the first verse and I thought, okay, maybe I should just release it. And after the first evening of recording it, after the first record, I listened to it and I thought, oof, no, I don't think this is the one. Good to have done, but not the one. Pushed on, made the video, thinking, okay, it's decent now. And then it just went out. And I think because everyone knows Craig David, it just kind of took off in a way that I never anticipated. And it was great. That's the most watched, most commented video I've ever made, I think, on Instagram at least.
Nice. And it's good to know you had a bit of fun with it. And with regards to putting together content, I mean, it did have a music video vibe to it. I mean, you getting a bit of help behind the camera as well? Is someone holding the camera for you?
Yeah, so I've got two of my closest, don't know what you'd call them. Well, one's my girlfriend, one's my best mate, Scott. Not been able to see Scott too much because of the lockdown, but my girlfriend has been in lockdown with me. She's also the, to quote the YouTube comments, thick ting, who is seen in the Craig COVID video. There's just something so chivalrous about calling a beautiful girl a thick ting, isn't there?
Was it a thick without a K as well? Was it 2 C's?
Yeah, 2 C's.
What is it about being called thick?
It was you, wasn't it? You left the comment, Marcus.
No, I'm 3 C's and then like a water emoji. I'm classy like that.
Oh God,
that's what I am. Yeah.
So yeah, sorry to answer your question. Gabs is the one who films my videos.
Yeah.
And if she's laughing during filming, that's always a good sign because it means with a bit of polish in the edit, it's going to be even better.
Yeah.
And with one of the workout videos we did, which I'm sure we'll speak about later, where I was literally just daggering my carpet. For anyone who doesn't know what daggering is, just search Marcus's YouTube channel.
Yeah, that's it.
She was laughing during that, and then so it gave me the confidence. It fuels you in the process. It makes you go, right, I'm going to go the extra mile then because I think this is funny. So every part of the process is leading up to, will this be funny in the end?
Yeah. And is that your process? Is that you're thinking of the final thing? Like, is this going to be funny at the end? And is that constantly going through your mind as you're writing, creating? You just want to get the punchlines in and make sure that it resonates.
The whole process is, number one, when I'm writing the script, I'm thinking about this 60-second window usually, where there's got to be enough laughs in there, but at all the right moments. It's got to finish strong. It's got to start strong enough for you not to keep scrolling, and then it's got to keep you entertained in the middle. So that's the writing process. And then I might read that script to Gabs, and she might go, "Yeah, I think you should change this, or I think you should do this." We'll then film it, catch a vibe. Are we feeling good about this? There's been plenty of videos that I've just got a quarter of the way through and gone, I'm not feeling it, and we'll be completely ditched. Like, there's a whole bin of those. And then you get to the edit, and then obviously when it's edited, I will always, without fail, send it to Gabs and Scott, and their reaction will influence how I feel. But sometimes it's way off. Sometimes I'll send it and they'll be like, yeah, it's all right. And then Instagram will be like, wow, this is the greatest thing ever. And then other times I'll be like, this is fantastic. And Instagram will be like, meh. So there's so much, there are so many points of uncertainty. I think ultimately some things hit and then some things hit less, but that's just the nature of the game, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you got to put it out there, suck it and see, really. I mean, nobody has the formula to viral. Do you know what I mean? Like, some people, kind of resonate a bit better, like yourself, but nobody knows, like, right, this is going to be the one. This is going to break the internet. I mean, unless, you take off all your clothes and decide to pour champagne over your shoulder like Kim Kardashian did. But I think that's done now, so no one else can really do that.
Yeah, I've been there, done that. Didn't go down too well on LinkedIn, but we learned from these things.
Oh, yes, we must learn. We must move forward. So
what I will say, though, just because of you mentioned the whole viral thing. I think a lot of people, when something goes viral, they think, this must be just the greatest feeling in the world. But sometimes for a creative person, it's actually also one of the most anxious feelings, because you feel yourself on this wave, just this building wave of people talking and retweeting and liking and reposting. And I don't know whether it's just myself, but in that moment, as soon as I realize that's happening, I'm thinking, oh God, what's the next video going to be then? Because it needs to be able to capture this amount of stuff. So there are pros and cons. Obviously, I love the feeling, but it's not all glitz and glam as you might find it. There's a lot of stuff that happens in here the moment, you know, in your head, the moment that you see something really taking off.
100%. And are you doing quite a lot of work, you know, internally and in your mental to make sure that you do stay in a positive mindset? Because, you know, you are locked in. You try not to look at that explore page, but hey, Instagram's there. And let's be honest, that's where you put out your content. So you kind of spoke about regulating yourself, but I suppose you also have to be quite aware of what's going on out there.
100%, bro. Rewind maybe 3 years, and I wasn't anywhere near Instagram sketches. I was trying to, you know, be a presenter. That's what I wanted to do. And I was complaining because there were so many things about the industry that I just didn't understand. You know, I didn't understand why I was coming up with these games on my radio show, or I was having a go at making some really sort of cool, unique content on my YouTube, and it just wasn't taking off. And I could see other people absolutely murking it, getting those precious few spots on the bigger radio stations or the TV shows. And I was just complaining, and I thought to myself, look, I'm doing everything I can work-wise, but I'm not doing anything for my spirit or my, you know, the inner munya. And Gabs, so my girlfriend Gabs, she's super spiritual, like, you know, she's practiced Buddhism and all of this kind of thing. So I was in her room one day, and I saw this book, and I knew what the book was. I'd seen it before in my mum's room. It was called The Secret, and I thought, let me just read it anyway. I don't even know what it was. It was like one of those movie moments where you just see the book lent at a particular angle. Do you know what I mean? It's got that little triangle in the gap between the other books.
The light glistened off it.
Exactly, man. and my shiny forehead as well. Anyway, long story short, read that book, and I would summarize it because some people think, oh, you know, is this religious? Is it some sort of cult? The principle is, in life, you've got two options. You can either look at what's in front of you and go, well, this is all right. Or you can just spend your life in a constant daydream of being like, imagine if, I reckon I can, one day I will. And I just switched between being the complaining guy who was like, the industry is messed up. You know, some people do get it better than others. I switched all of that off and just went, I'm going to be that guy. Like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to have that. And honestly, bro, I still do that every single morning. Every morning I wake up and I do 3 things I'm grateful for. And then I read a list of affirmations. And if I read them to you, you'd be like, oh, what? Like, calm down, mate. Because you have to big yourself up. You have to gas yourself up to believe that could be you. And imagine, like, that whilst I was doing that, when I would be saying stuff like, oh, one day I'm going to hit 10,000 followers on Insta. I really believe it. I believe it. I believe it. A year from me saying that, I think I was probably on, in a year, I went from the 2,000 I was on to maybe 75,000. And I never even, you know, when I was saying it, although I had faith in what I was saying, I never believed that, you know, you can really make that kind of change just by, you know, being positive and actually genuinely believing in what you want and just making you saying it so much it doesn't even surprise you anymore when it happens.
Great chat there with Munya, episode 367 of How to Kill an Hour. Episode 370, we got a bit Trekky. In case you didn't know, I'm a big fan of Star Trek. I've been following it. In fact, I've watched every single episode since the original series. I had a super binge a few years back and decided to get through everything. And I was really happy when we got presented with loads of new Trek in 2020. In fact, that's one of the good things that happened this year. So episode 370, I spoke to the man behind Lower Decks, that first animated series from Trek for about 40 years plus, maybe more, I think, if I'm doing my maths right. And we wanted to have a chat with how he got involved with this show called Lower Deck. So here's me speaking to the man behind it, also one of the guys behind Rick and Morty, Mike McMahon.
I was an assistant on a desk for the head of animation at Fox, and I had just been a PA, which is, you know, a production assistant, somebody who keeps the office stocked with printer paper and coffee, on the show Drawn Together and on the show South Park. And so I didn't move to LA knowing that I would do animation, but I knew that I loved animated stuff. Simpsons, Futurama might be my favorite. And so, you know, when you want to be a writer, you've got to write all the time. And I remember I wrote a pretty gnarly, maybe not great take on a comedic version of Star Trek that didn't involve any Star Trek IP. And it was kind of based on the unspoken sort of like colonialist aspects of the Federation. And my manager at the time, her big note on it was, why does this have to take place in space? I was like, okay, maybe this is bad. I was watching tons of, I was engaged at the time to my now wife, and lucky how that works out. And we were rewatching all of Star Trek together, and just on a binge, just like loving it. And I was so desperate. I wish I could just write for a Star Trek show, but there were none on the air then. And it was driving me crazy that I couldn't do a spec script for a Star Trek. So I started writing TNG Season 8. The tweets was my version of getting to write Star Trek episodes, just pretending that TNG never went away, just like forcing and willing it to just still be existing. And it was just to make, a couple of my friends laugh and my wife laugh. And then it blew up. It got like 100,000 followers. I only tweeted a couple hundred times. And then I was on hiatus from the show I was working on at that point. And I just wrote a letter to a book agent, a lit agent named Kate McKean, and was like, I think I can turn this Star Trek Twitter into a book. And so I wrote up a proposal for Simon & Schuster, and they totally got it. Ed Schlesinger over there is in charge of all the Star Trek stuff, and he totally geeked out over it. So I wrote this book called Warped, which was a fake guide to the fake season of Star Trek: The Next Generation, and they published it. They put it out as if it was a real guide. And that led directly to Lower Decks because a friend of mine who was an assistant that I met him when we were assistants at Fox. He was also an assistant in the same building, Aaron Byers, ended up becoming an executive. While I was going on the writer's track, he was going on the executive track. He ended up as an executive at Secret Hideout, which obviously makes, all of this next generation of Trek. And he knew I was crazy for Star Trek. He knew I worked on Rick and Morty, which he loved. And he knew I had this book and that I knew tons about, that I just had a working, understanding love of just the world of, the galaxy that the Federation inhabits. And that he had me come in and talk to Alex Kurtzman about what my dream sort of animated show was that I never thought they were going to go for, because I wanted to do a comedy and I wanted to do a 2380 era, TNG era show. And to their credit, I didn't have to beg or explain or bribe anybody. They completely got it. They got it. And I've been in heaven ever since. I've been making Star Trek.
So we know now that Lower Decks was a really, really big hit in the Trek community. I mean, there's always some people that moan when there's new Star Trek, but generally, I mean, it ticked all the boxes in kind of staying true to Trek, being funny, and also being generally entertaining once you put it all together. But before this is when we had the interview, so it was before it dropped. So I wanted to ask him, did he feel the pressure? And here's his answer.
Honestly, I mean, I did. I felt a ton of pressure because I wanted it to be Star Trek that I would love. I think that I couldn't really feel pressure about the Trek community at large, because there are so many different, like, Star Trek is open doors. I mean, I know there's always people on the internet who want to be gatekeepers to stuff. And like, I get it, because I think like very deep down, if you look past all the crud, Star Trek is really important to everybody that loves it. And you protect the things that you love. And you don't want people to quote unquote mess up or change or alter, these things that are a safe haven for you, that you put on in the background to keep you company, or that you've seen a million times, or that you've invested a lot of emotional energy into. And I totally get it. I don't want people messing with my stuff like that either. And the thing with Star Trek, though, is that there isn't one type of Star Trek, like TOS, TNG, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, Enterprise, the movies, the JJ movies, the New Era, Disco, and Picard, like the animated series, even Galaxy Quest. Like, there has been, and I know Galaxy Quest isn't an official Star Trek thing, but like, to me it was. When I saw that movie, I was like, oh, I love this movie. It's a beautiful, great Star Trek movie that happens to get why Star Trek is funny. And it is a bit of a spoof, but you're never going to please every Star Trek fan. Like, there's something for everybody in Star Trek, and it keeps growing. And the reason, some people say that Star Trek is a genre, and I've been accused of that too, but I think that the even better than that is that it's many genres, is that you can, that TNG was an expression of, oh, what if we take the things from TOS and we remix it and we expand it and we see what it's like to be futuristic for another generation. But then Deep Space Nine and Voyager are so fascinating, because it's like, Voyager's not only on a space station, but it's not even on a Federation station. I mean, it's a Cardassian station. All the tech looks different, and it's about such different stuff. And Voyager is clearly like not even in the Alpha Quadrant. And so what those shows, you know, I actually think every Star Trek has amazing stuff in it. And, you know I'm rambling about Star Trek, which my wife would say this is the perfect job for it. But you know, I think like it's a fool's errand to say that any series of Star Trek is bad, because I think where Star Trek really lives and breathes is in its characters. And there's a reason that you can love TNG even though Sub Rosa is in it, you know? Like, I can even watch Sub Rosa because I might not love the idea of Beverly Crusher having a romantic relationship with like a magic lantern, but I do love spending time with that crew. And I think that there hasn't been a Star Trek series where I don't love the crew. And any quote unquote bad episode, it's still 40 minutes I get to spend with a crew, with a Starfleet crew. Or with Bajorans or whomever, or McKee, I guess. Yeah. So I guess like the short version of that rambling is that, you know, I knew that no matter what I did, there were going to be people that it didn't speak to, because, you know, Star Trek isn't designed to be the same every time a new creator is expressing what they love about it. And that's what I'm trying to do. Like, my love of Star Trek is the kind of love where I can have a beer with my friends who are also Trekkies and argue about how great Riker is, great or really great. And, and, you know, I'm not the kind of Trekkie that knows, you know, micro details about like production codes. And sometimes I forget episode titles and eras and dates and stuff like that. But I love the characters, the stories. And so I knew that as long as Lower Decks felt like it had vibrant characters and it stayed true to Starfleet and to, you know, personal truths and scientific truths and ethics and morals and being the best that humanity can be, then I can still have fun in it. And yeah, it's not going to please everybody, but I actually think that if you let enough episodes build up, if you think it's not going to be for you, and then you check it out and just kind of let it just run and just be a part of it, I think people will be surprised, because as much as I wasn't worried about people who are kind of gatekeeping Star Trek, the show is kind of for them. Like, there are so many, not only references, but just like themes and characters and even jokes that really play for people that love Star Trek. So ironically, anybody who really doesn't think that they needed a Star Trek animated comedy might be the perfect audience for it if they give it a try.
And you know what? He was so good at delivering a show that promised all of those things and also delivered. So that was the episode with Mike McMahon. That's episode 370. Back to the UK again. For lockdown, for some people it was quite hard. Especially comedians who do a lot of live shows. Now, a comedian that managed to really flip things on its head was Bilal Zafar, who launched his Twitch channel Zafar Cakes, which is doing really, really well. I'll explain more about how well it's doing and how we're actually tied together with him in a way at How to Kill an Hour after I play a clip about how he first got into Twitch during lockdown. This is from episode 371, and this is Bilal Zafar.
March, when it was really bad in Italy, like 800, 900 deaths a day kind of thing. And our government hadn't done anything yet. And it was obvious that it's coming here. And so in my mind, I'd already thought, right, Edinburgh's off. They can't do that festival in quite a small city with like thousands packed in. It doesn't make any sense. And then, you know, literally just started getting loads of emails about gigs being cancelled, all the previews for Edinburgh that I had booked in, like some really nice stuff, just all disappeared. So I'd say for about a good like 2 or 3 weeks, I just felt horrible, like properly like panic attacks and stuff, because it's like my year is just gone. And with my work, because obviously I'm self-employed and I don't have anything else really, and it all depends on kind of how well I'm doing at the time. I don't have any like guarantees, basically. You don't have that with stand-up. And again, unless you have quite wealthy parents, which a lot of comedians do, it just depends how good you are and how well you're doing. So I thought, I'm just going to like regress a year, basically. I've just lost it. Like, what do I do now? And then luckily, I thought about streaming on Twitch for a while, but I just didn't have the confidence because I'm not really someone who like, I'm not good at doing like those Instagram videos where you film yourself doing something funny. I won't be good at TikTok. I'm not like a YouTuber. You know what I mean? I don't have that kind of confidence. Stand up is very different to all of that. And I thought I'll have some fun on Twitch. So I started off just streaming some casual games on there. So I guess I should explain what Twitch is for people because people still don't know.
Yeah, man, please do. Please.
Yeah. It's basically a streaming site. So think of like YouTube Live, basically. But Twitch is its own thing where it's mainly people streaming a game, which means that they're playing whatever, generally the latest game like Fortnite or whatever's really big, and it's their head in the corner of the screen. You see their faces, they're playing it, and they're talking over it. And I can't explain why that's popular to people because it's hard to explain to like my parents, for example.
Do you know what? I'll quickly jump in there. Do you know what you have to say to them? Gogglebox. If you watch that, it's the same thing, isn't it?
That's interesting. It's the same thing, but even more real.
Yeah,
in a way, because more you can talk to the person on screen. I think that's a really amazing thing.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly that. Yeah.
Yeah. I like to describe it as you're watching because a lot of people watch me on their TVs. That's how people watch Twitch. I like to describe it as you're watching a great TV show that you love, but you can talk to it and it might talk back, which is like the best, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what it is. So I started off just streaming like Portal 2 is quite a popular like puzzle robot. It's quite a nice game. And I did that a bit and I got a bit bored of it. I thought this isn't really my thing. I don't really like just talking about my personal life and stuff like that either on stream. So eventually, the idea just came to me of playing one of my favorite retro games, which is Pro Evolution Soccer 5, PES 5, which is a game that was out in 2005, which it was the first football game I really got into when I was like 13, I think, roughly. And I thought I'll just play that again. And then I just had the idea. I bought a green screen and like a ring light and stuff for quite cheap off Amazon. That arrived and I thought, right, well, if I'm going to be on screen, I should just be the football manager, just wear a suit on my top half. And that was literally it. I thought, and also when I did that, I thought this is an idea that I'm sure everyone has done kind of thing. I didn't think it was original, but it turns out that like no one has done this specific thing at all. Like I get compared to this Dr. Disrespect guy because I guess he's changed what Twitch is in a way, and he has lots of crazy backgrounds and stuff, but still it's nothing like him. And I started with me playing the game. All I have to do is very easy. I just change the background to like a dressing room, do a team talk, change it to one of those like, where football managers have their interviews after games.
Yeah,
you can get those off Google.
Screen, yeah,
those things,
screens, yeah.
Just do a post-match interview after, be a bit like Mourinho type, blame the ref and sort of moan a little bit. And that's all it was. And then gradually it just grew from there where I started giving players voices. And then obviously the next thing after that is you start putting storylines in. And that's it really. And I've just kept it going for I started in late April. What are we now, August? I do it 3 times a week.
Do you know what? I want to talk more about how your streams are going on now. But I think what's really cool about your story is that it's really organic. So your first stream when you kind of donned on the suit and started off PES United, it was really different though, wasn't it? It was literally more gameplay, right? And when you say storylines, you kind of threw it in, but like you kind of gone from there to like there's whole episodes now where there is no football whatsoever.
Yeah. So, when it's quite funny watching the very first ones back because, like, even the voices I do for the players are like rubbish. Like, it clearly sounds like me doing a voice, whereas now I'm a bit better at that kind of thing, and the whole thing is much more slick and looks better. I didn't really know what I was doing at first, and also it was a bit of a mess because have you played Pro Evo?
Oh yeah, man, I love Pro. I love Pro.
You love it.
I was a pro. I was always a pro. It was Pro or FIFA. It was FIFA.
Me too.
Pro. I was always like Pro because Pro's the simulation. FIFA's the game. I'm a sim guy. That's what it was.
FIFA's for children, isn't it?
FIFA's like basically if somebody was to give you Street Fighter and if you just pressed one button, it did all the different types of punches for you. No, whereas if you have a full simulation, I feel like when I play FIFA, I'm actually improving my real life football. When I play PES, I'm improving my real life football skills on the pitch.
Wow, that's quite a statement.
It's true, 100% true.
That's interesting. Yeah, so like when I started, so I switched from PES to FIFA in like 2012 when PES had a bit of a dip. Like some of the games got quite poor.
Yeah.
So playing PES 5, right? I thought the problem with the stream might be that the game is too easy for me because I was so good at it when I was 13. And then when I played it, man, it's hard.
Different,
like,
right?
It's really not easy. Like the difference with FIFA is that like a through ball, for example, on FIFA, you just press triangle and it will go straight through to your striker. So easy. Or you do a cross, it will land straight on someone's head. Yep. In this, you have to time everything.
Yeah.
Or you'll give it away. Like and so when I first started, I couldn't score and I just kept losing and it was so frustrating and I just thought I don't know what I'm going to, so I was like panicking about that. It's quite interesting as well with streaming. Like it's a bit like stand up or I guess even podcasting, anything where when you first start, you're full of like panic of anything going wrong. And it's like now, like if you had a technical problem and like, I don't know, your internet went off or whatever, it's fine. You just call me back. And I know you anyway, it's all right. But like if it was your first podcast, you'd be freaking out and all flustered and stuff. Yeah, and I got like that on my first streams where if something went wrong or I had a small like my controller stopped working once and I think I was blushing. I thought everyone is going to leave. Like this is the end basically. But that's not what Twitch is like. Everyone is very patient. They're there for the whole thing. So even like if I start rambling about something, if I pause the game and start talking rubbish, it's all part of it. It's like the whole thing is entertainment. Also, people don't necessarily watch it like they're watching a film. They sort of, they can have it on in the background. You know, a lot of people stream for like 4 hours. That's like quite common. Mine tend to be maximum 2 hours usually. Yeah, sorry, I can ramble quite a lot, by the way.
Continue, please crack on, mate.
What was did I answer your question?
I just asked how you were today about 30 minutes ago, and this is where we are.
Yeah. The thing is, I have a lot to say about Twitch, you know?
Yeah, no, and I think it's great because I think the reason it's really interesting talking to you about it is that you're not super long in the tooth, but you have been doing it for a while, so I feel like it's quite a relatable conversation for those who want to get into streaming, which I'll ask you about later, you know, if you want to get into streaming, what are your tips and such.
Sure.
But it's just interesting to hear from your point of view because you're enjoying this really lovely explosion. Yeah. I mean, like for example, IGN have had you know, covered you a few times really with regards to your content. And I was like, for you, was that quite interesting when you had one of the world's, if not the world's biggest outlets for kind of gaming journalism saying, hey, we want to hit you up because you're doing something different on Twitch?
It was ridiculous because like I've got management that look after me and they have a PR side and they try and get me some stuff. So quite nicely, they got me. I told my management I want to write for The Guardian about Twitch, and they got me a little article where I got to do that, which was amazing. And then suddenly, like out of nowhere, IGN did a tweet about me, and they'd written an article saying binge this series because I stick it all on YouTube. And that was crazy. It turns out a few of the guys that write for IGN and stuff watch my stream because they just really enjoy it. And then they did a little documentary about me on YouTube as well. Yes, it's crazy. Like you can't get better PR than, and also like I know IGN really well. I hadn't looked at it for a while, but it's where I used to always read stuff on there about games years ago. I know it's a massive thing. They've got I think they got like 7 million Twitter followers or something stupid.
Mad.
And I started getting all that thing of like, because they said the Twitch streamer that's reinvented the platform. I got loads of those like American kids being like, no, he hasn't. Doctor disrespected that and like just really angry. But that's when you know that it's going well. When you start randomly getting not abuse, but just people saying what you do is rubbish without even watching it, which I don't mind.
Of course.
Yeah, it's been really nice, and I've got some other stuff coming up that I can't really say. I'll tell you about it when we finish recording. But it's all very nice, and also like it's just the chance to be creative like this for me is just incredible because like basically, right, the situation I was in before is that I've been doing stand-up for like 7 years?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, about 7 years when I did like my first open mic kind of thing. And then in 2016, I got nominated for an Edinburgh Award, which is like a massive hype thing, right? You don't get any money for it or anything, but you're nominated. I didn't win the thing, but still a nomination is considered a really like important thing. And then honestly, for about the last 4 years, it's just been meetings about stuff. And I've turned a lot of stuff down because most of the stuff has been like, do you want to do this Muslim thing? Do you want to do this Asian thing? And the thing is, I'm not against doing that sort of thing, but it's really cringy stuff. Like, basically, it's always written by a white guy, and it's bad. And they want me to basically come on and make it okay. So I was asked, like, the most recent one, I was asked to come in as a writer and star in some show about Muslims, totally written by a white guy. And I was like, what? And it was rubbish. Like, it was like, I shouldn't be too specific, but I don't really care. It was about like a couple of detectives who are like lapsed Muslims who pretend to be religious to get in with this community. And then it turns out there's some terrorist or something. And it's like everything I hate. And the thing is, because you get the email and it says like, oh, do you want to be like a detective in a thing? And I'm like, I love detective stuff. I was really excited. And
there's you thinking you're going to get your Luther on, your touch of Frost on, your Inspector Morse. So you thought, yes, Sherlock. I've made it. There we go. The Wire. I've got this.
The Wire. Yeah. The British Wire.
Yeah.
That's Top Boy, isn't it? To be fair, sort of. Yeah. And then it's always that. It's like you scroll down in the email and it's like, oh no, it's because they've seen like your name and your color and stuff. And it's basically just based on that. And they probably wanted a more famous Muslim anyway. And they've sort of gone down the list because I'm not on TV or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's constantly been that. So literally to the point where I was pitching ideas to TV and radio and stuff, so I was told by an Asian producer that I have to Trojan horse my way in, which means that I pretend it's an idea about being Muslim and then I get to do my own thing. So I was writing up these ideas which were like that. So, which is kind of depressing, but you don't really think about it when you're doing it. You don't realize how unhappy it makes you at the time. And now with Twitch, I'm just a football manager. Like, and so many people, like I get between, the viewers are really up and down depending on obviously what's going on, but it's between like, I'd say 500 to 1,000 people tune in.
It's a considerable amount of people live watching you and following you, just sitting there watching your every move. Do you know what I mean?
It's ridiculous. Yeah, it's crazy. I can't believe it. I couldn't believe when I had like 50. I thought because that's a good gig. If you do a gig in like a small, like a basement room kind of thing with like 50 people like packed in, that's a great gig.
I'm going to be honest with you, he's doing a lot more than 50 people on his stream regularly right now. He's doing really well. And also us at How to Kill an Hour, we decided to do something which is really peculiar when I try and explain it to people. So his team that he's created, Pez United, his football team that he streams about, have got a football kit. And we are at How to Kill an Hour a sponsor of them. So what we'll do is in the show description for this episode, we'll pop in a link where you can support Pez United, and also, you'd be rocking a kind of bit of How to Kill an Hour merchandise as well, I guess, because we're sponsors. So you're kind of supporting an amazing Twitch channel and us as well. So anyway, more about Pez United. It's really the thing that's really helped Zafar Cakes blow up. So here's a bit more about it.
Yeah, now it's like I've found the thing that works best, and also it's great because I clip out bits of the Twitch stream, put them on Twitter, which really helps. Stick them on YouTube. I put the full streams up on YouTube, which people really like, because I think Twitch isn't always the best to watch stuff back on. People much prefer, it's just much easier to use YouTube. So every night I upload the full stream straight to YouTube, edit some clips, sleep quite late.
I hear that. I was going to say, it must be quite a bit of work for you at the moment, like in terms of doing stuff, because you are writing a show now. Like you're writing in, like I said, I didn't say it flippantly and this wasn't an out of place remark. Your episodes now, some of them don't have any football whatsoever. Like we have a new character who's quite demonic in his demeanor, and you went over to Reese's house, and
we
that
did.
was a surprise.
So, I should say though, none of it is scripted. It's just like a few bullet points, and it's all improvised. So like
serious.
Yeah. So the first time the Risa thing happened was I just gave him like a kind of scary voice, and I wasn't sure what he was at first, but he just kind of goes like, "Thank you, sire." And I thought it was so funny that he called me sire, and it made me laugh for ages on the stream that I'd done that. And that just carried on as a thing where something has happened. We're not sure what, but he's got possessed. I might have had something to do with it. I might be possessed now, but it's not, it's not very clear. And he also might be a vampire. Like it's not, it's not, it doesn't really make sense. So yeah, we had an episode. So, I should tell you, there's a structure that I do. So normally on a Monday, it's fully improvised, just play games and be a manager. Wednesday, we have a guest on, which is like a person who's part of the club. So like the owner of the club or, I don't know, all sorts of different roles. And they're usually a comedian that I'm friends with. I just get them on to improvise some. They don't even know about football most of the time. I give them some bullet points and we improvise. And then on Friday, we do some crazy thing where it's a pre-planned thing. So like, yeah, so last Friday I did one, I think it was one of my best ones, where it was a seance. So we went over to Reese's house, which is a castle, like a haunted castle. And I had like a Ouija board thing, which by the way, that wasn't hard to set up. That only took like 10, 20 minutes to make all of that. It really wasn't as hard as it looks, kind of thing.
Yeah, and bats and stuff flying around as well. That looked pretty cool.
Just a GIF or a GIF off Google. That's all it is. And you put it in, it's quite easy. And then all we had was Discord, where people, so Discord, basically it's a bit like Zoom, if people don't know Discord, but gamers use it. I guess that's the best way to describe it for now. I just had people lined up. I just put a message out. I said, if you want to be on this as a caller, I didn't tell them what was going to happen. Just let me know. And then I just called the people one at a time, and we were like, Spirit, are you there? And then each person was like the spirit of a dead football fan, whatever. There's a character that everyone loves called Barry, who's quite an angry PES United fan, and he died, which we didn't know about, but he came back on. Yeah. Which, by the way, is played by my brother. Barry, which everyone always wants to know who it is, but yeah, my brother does it. And I had a few viewers just call in and just say some fun stuff, and they were all really good. And I had Suze Kempner, who's a comedian, was on as the spirits of dead EastEnders characters, which was incredible. She was so funny, like, again, all improvised, but she just stole the show so much. She was Dot Cotton, her Dot Cotton's son Nick, who she killed, and she was in hell with him, killing him again and again. Yes. And she was Pat Butcher in Heaven when we called her again, and Peggy Mitchell as well. Or if you know EastEnders, they're all like iconic characters. And it was incredible. It's like, yeah, like as a comedian, you don't get the chance to do this usually. You don't, because everything you do has to be so like considered, and you don't get to just have fun, because it's like your time is so precious now. When you're previewing a new show, you can't waste your stage time. You know, if you've got a good audience and you have to try all of your best ideas out, there's not much room for silliness.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's really like the whole, I mean, is it fair to say the Twitch audience as a whole is probably one of the nicer audiences online?
You know what? I can't say that, because we had a thing maybe a couple of months ago called Blackout. No, it wasn't. I think it was a Blackout Wednesday, and it wasn't to do with the Black Lives Matter thing. It was to do with, well, it's partly that actually. It was to do with all the abuse on Twitch that mainly women get, and there's a lot of racism. Yeah, because it's gamers, isn't it? There's the whole Gamergate thing. Yeah. So they're all on Twitch, and nothing gets done about them. So they're anonymous. They got a stupid name. They can come on, say whatever they want. They get banned. But that's the end of it. They can make a new account and come back. So luckily, I've not had anything that bad yet. I've had a few people come and be rude, but I just ignore them most of the time, because luckily the chat is quite busy. So it just disappears. But yeah, female streamers get a lot of, that's the case with women anywhere, generally. Tend to get some of the worst creepy stuff. I think I'm quite lucky that because I'm a character, when I'm the football manager, how do you give me abuse? Like, it's kind of hard to do. And also, I'm quite aggressive anyway. So I tell my viewers to shut up randomly as a joke, but I'll just say, shut up, mate, like over very small things, and get quite angry at them because I'm this unhinged football manager. So I guess maybe that's why. So I think if you're on as yourself, it definitely, I mean, it happens everywhere. I'd say it's definitely nicer than Twitter, which is just like hell.
Twitter at the moment is just not a fun. Like some of the most ridiculous things on Twitter. So yeah, I noticed that with Twitch. Can we talk a bit more about your character as well? And his he's got an addictive personality. To be fair, hasn't he? Can we chat about that, Bilal?
So yeah, sure. So what happened is right at the start of the stream when I only had, I'd say between I don't know, it was actually between like 10 and 50 people at the very start, right?
Yeah.
I was addicted. So hot Pepsi is the drink that we drink. And that just came from, I was just drinking, I don't know what I was having. It might have even been water in the cup, right? And someone said, what are you drinking? And I said, it's a hot cup of Pepsi. And that just stuck as the thing. And that became our sponsor of the club as well. Is Pepsi spelt wrong? That was the thing I went with. And then I would add something to my Pepsi and I would add, so I can't remember how I was doing it, but I was adding a little bit of liquid in, and I tried to deny it, but it was cough syrup with codeine in it, which that's what rappers drink in America, right? It's called lean
on that lean, yeah.
Yeah, and I thought it's quite funny that this football manager is addicted to a drink that rappers drink in America. I thought that's quite random. And then as time went on, as I was getting more viewers, I realized like you can't make jokes about taking a real drug. So then literally one stream, I had like, not a mouth ulcer, I had wisdom tooth pain, which was really annoying me. And I had some Bonjela and I was just taking it on stream. And I was being quite animated that stream anyway. And it looked like the Bonjela was doing that to me. So then it turned out I had a Bonjela addiction, and then that became a thing. And I sort of took that as far as I could to the point where I had to have an intervention. And I took my golf cart on the motorway. And I went to the golf course, which is my favorite place, and all my players were there, and they sang Fast Car to Me by Tracy Chapman, obviously. And I love that. I really love that stream. So there's room for all sorts of things, all sorts of scandals that I've not even done yet. There's still loads more to come, hopefully. But yeah,
I think there is, and also there's a little bit of football in there as well, which is cool too. So in terms of kit, what's really interesting is that every streamer has their own kind of setup. They have elaborate, fancy lighting in the background, or they have a green screen. For you, how important was that in terms of getting your stream out there?
So obviously the green screen is hugely important because without it, I couldn't do the fancy background stuff, and I wouldn't want it to look like it couldn't be my bedroom and me wearing a suit and being a manager. It wouldn't make any sense. So yeah, it was massively important. But like you go one step at a time, and I try and tell people that when I give them advice, I'm like, you don't have to spend like £1,000. So at first my setup was the Logitech C920, which is the standard like streaming camera, which I think I got for like 80 quid. Ring lights are like, I don't know, they're like between like 10 and 30 quid on Amazon. The green screen was like 30 quid. My PC cost about £300, and I bought it mainly for editing. It's not really a gaming PC, so I can't play the latest stuff on it. So yeah, and also my microphone. So I got like a fancy one now. But at the start, I bought an Amazon Basic mic, which I think it was like £25, and it was really good. It broke. I don't know what happened to it. I don't know if that's the mic itself or I banged it or something, but it went all muffly basically. So I had to get a new one. But obviously the kit is very important to get started. You can't do it I wouldn't advise streaming without a webcam because I've seen people do it where it's just a voice, and it's just not as fun. You don't get the connection with the person. And again, I wouldn't stream in silence either. People do that. People stream and you can't see them or hear them, and it's like, why would I want to watch this?
Yeah, that's a bit odd.
That's how I watch Twitch though. Like some people watch it for the gameplay. I watch it for the entertainment, so I tend to watch people that are quite funny, and it's their personality. So like Limmy, for example, who's a good friend of mine, he sort of encouraged me to get on Twitch as well. He's so funny on Twitch. Like he plays like Dead by Daylight, which looks like quite a fun game. I still don't really understand it, but I watch it for the entertainment of it all, and him getting frustrated and him laughing when he manages to kill all the people, and you know what I mean. So yeah, I'd say obviously the kit is very important, but you don't have to. I wouldn't say you have to splash out like loads of money. Like, in fact, I wanted to do an article. The Guardian thing I wrote originally, I wanted it to be about how Twitch is like the theatre for working class people, because you can do shows like you can do as many shows as you want, and your setup can be like £400, which you can make back through Twitch. And the people watch for free, which is the complete opposite to having to have like, acting training, or like paying like 50 quid for a theatre ticket and all of that nonsense.
Yeah, I mean, it's really brought the barrier down, hasn't it, with regards to access? And I suppose, I'm not going to ask you for like details, like financials, but it is a sustainable career, isn't it? Twitch, you can, and we have seen people, have a career out of it. Do you know what I mean? It's a good way to supplement things, especially if you are a comedian who can't get on stage live at the moment.
Yeah, well, like I don't want to get too excited, but right now it's good. I'm making a nice amount of money monthly, but obviously I don't have any guarantee with it. So I don't know if my subs could drop off, and if they shouldn't, they really shouldn't. But it's not like
no,
I'm
don't
under
you
a contract.
dare! You should not.
No. I won't. By the way, I'm determined not to.
Oh, I was actually talking to your subscribers saying, "Don't you dare unsubscribe." No, not you.
I thought you
bruv.
were giving me a pep talk, like an aggressive.
No. Oh no, a pep talk for you would sound so different.
Okay, thank you.
You've got this, man. Come on.
Yeah. Thank you. So yeah, but you don't want to get, when you start getting something, it is on a month by month basis.
Yeah.
Like you're never going to get paid the same amount monthly unless it's like a fluke, basically. So it will always go probably up and down. I guess I have to judge it after a year. It's only been, I started in April. Because you have to become affiliate first, and then you can become a Twitch partner, which is the top thing, which I am now. I've only been paid 3 times by Twitch so far.
Right.
So it's only been 3 months of actual, proper subs where I get paid kind of thing.
And paid he is getting, and rightly so, because Zafar Cakes' channel is great to watch on Twitch. I suggest you really do check it out. Now, switching over to another creative mind, George the Poet, who absolutely has smashed the podcast game. He picked up, we're happy for picking up a British Podcast Award. This guy picked up so many gongs at the British Podcast Award. The next year they were like, you can't even enter now. You have to be on the panel of judges. Yeah, that's how well he did. Anyway, George the Poet jumped on the show and we spoke all about his creativeness and his creative process, but also where his podcast called Have You Heard George's Podcast came from.
I usually have a lot of thoughts flying around. And for the majority of my life, I've never been able to express all of those thoughts in one way. Rapping, I became a rapper when I was 15. That was my first outlet. When I went to uni, I was about 19. That's when I became a poet. It was a different audience. I didn't think they would understand me as a rapper. Poetry became my new outlet. When I left uni, I signed a record deal and it became musical poetry. And that gave me a new way to express myself and gave the audience new ways to imagine what we can do with lyricism. But I left the record deal 2 years after I signed. And when I left, that's when I really had I really felt like I had to go back to the drawing board, because I didn't think that being a commercial radio artist would maximize my potential. But I didn't know what would. I couldn't see anything that would really be a lane. I looked into TV, but then I saw the TV, the business behind the TV world would put me in a junior position relative to who I felt I really was in it. So I was like, okay, I'm going to prove my capabilities in a way that doesn't require me working up one industry at a time. I'm just going to do me. And if the industries that I'm interested in become interested in my expression, then we can have a more, a more respectful conversation. So the podcast sprang from me realizing that podcasting is one space where I can probably get more off of my chest than I would in a song, but it's not quite TV, so I won't need a big team. I just put together these different sounds and ideas that I've got in my brain, and it became a new thing.
Yeah, it's amazing. Isn't it great that with a podcast, and you do a lot of this across your podcast, is you describe things sometimes in really great detail so we can see it the way you want us to see it. But then also you might just say, for example, you're in a room or you're in a certain area, and me as a listener, I'm going to use my own mind to build that. You don't need, special effects, that you would in TV to create this whole scene. You can just explain where you are. You're in a room drinking from a cup. I'm seeing what that cup is. I'm seeing what that room is without you even having to say that,
Bro, it's crazy you say that because I was thinking, I just like one of the first thoughts I had this morning, like, everyone's always saying to me, gee, I can't wait for you to make the podcast visual. And of course, that is going to be a turning point. But at the same time, the minute you do that, you deny the listener their own opportunity to build their picture in their mind exactly as they want to see it.
100%.
So it's a double-edged sword.
It's kind of like when you read a book and you watch the movie. I mean, it's literally that, isn't it? You know, I feel like sometimes I've watched a movie and I feel a bit disappointed. And sometimes I feel like you've done well, but it's only because I'm going, right, well, you're close to what my version of that story was in my head. So that's...
Yeah, and you know that means that you're far from someone else's version.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, for somebody who hasn't listened to your podcast, how would you explain Have You Heard George's podcast? What would it be like? I mean, because I think as an audience nowadays, people are used to hearing podcasts like this where I'm having a talk with somebody. They're used to hearing a couple of friends have a laugh, you know. They're used to some stuff which has a little bit of narrative, but yours has a real strong narrative to it, doesn't it?
Yeah, I guess the narrative is my life, my perspective, my growth as a public voice. I'm just figuring all of this out. The way I would describe it is, if you think about that corner of your mind where you feel, but you cannot put words to what you feel, I've tried to create sounds for that corner, tried to create a soundtrack. Yeah. So it's like when I was a kid, I used to watch Disney movies, and I didn't have a wide vocabulary when I was watching these movies, but I knew that what I felt was like the depths of the ocean and the expanse of the universe. I just didn't have the words for it. So I went back to, and I feel like as we get older, we get used to forms of communication that we can all agree on. So we pay less attention to the stuff that can't be communicated because we just assume no one else is going to get it. But with this podcast, I just let go. And I was like, if people don't get it, that's fine, but I know what I'm feeling.
And your feeling is all over it. I mean, you talk a lot in both of the seasons about where you come from and you know, how society was back when you were younger and how it is today, how some things have changed and how some things haven't. I mean, it means something to me that you're from NW10 as well. I mean, I grew up in the ends, so, you know.
Oh, so done.
Yeah. So I was more Harlesden. So listeners are like, oh, look at you talking about ends, but I was more Harlesden and Stonebridge when I was young, and I moved to Kensal Green. So when I hear that, you know, you grew up in the States, you know, St. Raph's, as we used to call it back in the day, I started to really visualize and connect with you, especially when you spoke about things that resonated in Northwest London at that time. I mean, to hop forward into season 2 for a sec, when you spoke about Cameron and you spoke about the whole Dipset wave, I mean, that for me as a young man in that area, I felt like they were probably one of the most influential rap groups ever, especially at that time. I wanted to dress like Cameron. There was a scene where Cameron steps out of a pink Range Rover in one of the Dipset videos, and I remember watching that and going, geez, that's probably one of the most powerful visions I've seen of this guy kind of just making everything pink and embellishing the color.
I used to just write Dipset on all of my classwork and all of my school. I just wrote Dipset everywhere. But I appreciate that you're from Northwest. That does that already. I feel a deeper connection. It's just how it is, man.
Yeah. And I mean, and what's great is somebody for like myself, I've grown up in it, and so it's great hearing about it. I also feel like you're very inclusive. So if you're not from that environment, you're drawing in a lot of people, and you even take time in your podcast to even come back on certain points and loop back and be like, oh, you might not have got that if you're not from the end. So let me break this down a bit for you. But also when I'm listening to that, I don't feel patronized as well. So that's a really nice balance. I mean, how important is it for you as your podcast for you to make sure that, you know, you address and talk to people in a language that, you know, we can understand, but also the general public can as well, who have no experience of what George's life is like?
It's very important, bro. The way I see an artist's career, it's like a campfire. People come around the fire for the warmth and the light, and you never know who you might end up sitting next to, right? So if I'm creating that space, I want to make sure that people can come and toast their little marshmallows and talk amongst themselves and not feel like you have to be a certain kind of person to understand me.
Yeah. All right. I hear that. And a big part of that also is the visual soundscape as well. And you and Ben Brick worked together real hard to make that happen. Can we talk about your relationship and how that came together? Because that's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, Ben Brick's like, he's an angel. He reached out to me when I was still in uni, invited me down to his studio. We chopped it up. We tried a few musical ideas. They were good at the time, but like I said, I didn't feel like I had really landed on my artistic language yet. So I just checked in with him every year. We were always respectful. He was a great out-the-box thinker. That's what I appreciated about him. He would say to me, yo, you should get your poetry in the new GTA game, or you should try and make your thing bust in South America. He thought differently. So when I came to him at the start of 2018 and I said, I'm working on a podcast, I want it to be cinematic. He had already been working on some film-like ideas and he sent me over some stuff. We just took it from there.
Amazing. And together you have managed to create a number of worlds that are, I'd say, relatable. And then in the second season, we go into a totally different part of your mind. I'm trying to kind of allude to it without kind of breaking down too much, but you take us on a whole journey into a different part of the way you think, which is great because you also, I don't know if you, obviously you're aware of this, like you're also break down some quite advanced science. It's very educational, like your second season as well, like, and not just in terms of bringing us up to speed in terms of where you're from, but you also really, you discuss things like sleep. You break it down in a way that you come off the back of that podcast going, wow, okay, I didn't realize that's how that process worked. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Did you do quite a bit of research into kind of the way the mind works when you were breaking that down?
It goes back to Ben Brick. First of all, thank you so much for really taking it in. It's great to have these conversations where someone's really thought it through. Ben Brick gave me a book last year called Why We Sleep. I mean, he didn't even give it to me. He was just reading it and he mentioned something about it. I got curious. I read it too. Yeah. And shouts out to the scientist behind it. His name is Matthew Walker. And it broke down in like basic terms, really, why sleep is like a health it's a health issue, the amount of sleep that you get. And I started thinking really deeply about it. I realized that I never valued sleep. I grew up thinking that if you can not sleep for as long as possible, that indicates how strong or how focused you are or how driven you are. Yeah. And a lot of us have that culture drilled into us. But I didn't think that that was how I wanted to continue after reading the book. And I also felt like this is something important to share with my audience. From talking about sleep, I can talk to you about my dreams. I can talk to you about health, public health. I can talk about science, the science of how the brain works. And it's also important for me in my career to make sure that I am teaching as many different subjects as possible. I struggled in school. My grades were okay, but it was hard for me to, like, the classroom format didn't fit. And I strongly believe that art is where I really came alive as an academic. And I'm constantly trying to prove that point. Art can be used to teach, not just for things that are perceived as soft or easy or skyver kind of ideas, but real neuroscience in this case.
Yeah, that's right. Neuroscience in an entertaining podcast from a spoken word master. It's honestly, check it out. George the Poet's podcast. Have you heard George's podcast? It's out on all good podcasting platforms. Also BBC Sounds app as well. From one genius to another, Ludwig Göransson, the gentleman who is behind so much good music. I mean, notably Childish Gambino's Redbone, New Girl, the show. He's made music for that TV show. And as well as that, he is also working on scoring films. And Tenet, a film which dropped this summer, kind of in between the lockdown so we could actually go out to the cinema and watch it. That was one of the films that he scored. Him and Christopher Nolan got together, and it's really interesting. We had a conversation about how he influenced the visuals of the film and how the visuals of the film influenced his scoring of it in a cyclical circle, which is almost as confusing as trying to watch the film itself first time. I was only joking. It is a complex one. You can't be eating your popcorn and not paying attention to this one. Anyway, Ludwig Göransson was on the show, episode 374, and this is him talking about Tenet.
Well, I've been a fan of Nolan's film since I was since I saw Batman Begins, I think, which was I was about 18, 19, and I saw it in a theater.
Yeah.
And to me, it's like one of the best experiences you have in today's pop culture. And just the way that he uses sound, audio, and visual in his films is groundbreaking, and it really is. When you hear it in the format it's made for in the theater, it really feels like almost like you're going to an amusement park. You feel like you're in for an adventure. It's an event, it's an experience, and it's there's only a few you only get a few chances like that in your life per year. And I thought it was I'm happy you got to see it in the theater.
Yeah, man, got to see it, got to hear it, and got to feel it as well, because you designed the sound so that it's something that really uses the full frequency of speakers. And I think for me personally, a cinema experience for me is seeing it big and also feeling that sound as well. Be honest with us though, Ludwig, when you first kind of had the call and the conversation about working on a Nolan film, how did you feel? Because like you said, he uses sound in a very interesting way. He's been known to. So how was that when you kind of had that feeling that, or you had the conversation about potentially working together?
I was extremely excited.
Yeah.
I mean, I have to say I was extremely excited. Like I said, like when I saw Batman Begins in the theater and I heard what he and Zimmer done together for that movie, it was groundbreaking. They changed they changed cinema.
Yeah. And
to be able to get a look inside that man's mind and brain, it was fascinating. He is as fascinating, brilliant as you would expect him to be, and he's so interested in every single detail in what's going on, like from the clothing to the set design to my music, and from the first note to the very last note that I write, he's really a part of everything in a great, respectful way. And how we were able to do what we did is that he got me started incredibly early in the process. I was starting to write music and starting on demos months before they start shooting the film. So when he took off the shoot in Tallinn, he had 10 CDs of my music in his portable CD player.
Wow, okay, because I was going to ask you about the production process and how it's different for film. So you had was it like a conversation around the premise of the film, or did you get to read some scripts before you started these processes?
Yeah, I read the script. Before that, the first meeting we had was just me and him in a studio.
Yeah.
Playing music to each other. We were just we were just bonding. He played music from his kind of like the soundtrack to his life, and I was playing the soundtrack to my life, and it was like about 6 hours just talking about music.
Cool.
And by the end of that meeting, he was like, "Hey, do you want to come in tomorrow and read the script for my new project?" So I went in the day after. I read the script, and we had a conversation. I had all these kinds of ideas of production, and I was kind of immediately struck by how interested he was in these kind of obscure music production ideas, but he really wanted to pick them apart, and just the way that he was caught up with my music producing ideas was really interesting to me.
Nice.
And then he asked me to come back next week with some demos, and I started to write music, and I wrote about 10 minutes of music every 2 weeks, and then I came to his studio and I played them for him, and we sat there together listening to it over and over again, and he was dissecting it, like talking about the sounds that he likes, talking about, oh, this is a melody I think could really work for this character, or this chord progression is really interesting. Can we develop that further? And so every 2 weeks I came on and we started building out the sound world like that. We started building out a whole fresh sound world from nothing.
So would you say it's quite possible that maybe the sounds that he heard and the ideas you conversed about had a direct relation to maybe how some of the visuals in the film worked? Because if he's sitting down and he's having these conversations with you before they've even flicked a camera on, that's quite a possibility, isn't it? That you helped to influence the story in the film.
Absolutely. And it's interesting that you bring that up, because he called me from, I think he was in Tallinn, and he was like, I'm shooting this, I'm shooting the prologue of the movie right now, and I'm listening to this song to this demo that you made, and I have an idea if we put a lot more distortion on these synths, like if we can get the energy even to pop out even further. So he already had this, like he had this demos in his mind when he was creating some of the shoots. It was incredible.
That's insane. That's really cool. Just to wheel it back a bit quickly, Ludwig, when you was talking about how you kind of played the soundtrack to each other's lives, I'm curious, can you remember any of the tracks that Christopher pulled out?
Yeah, I can. He played me a lot of, to me, obscure film music, and not obscure, but film music I hadn't heard. But there was actually a really interesting composition he played on his computer. It was a video of a guitar concerto. I think it was a Brazilian composer that wrote a concerto for a guitar orchestra. It was about, I think his name is Branco or something. It was about 70 guitarists in a concert auditorium playing a symphony together on electric guitars.
That must have sounded insane.
It was insane. I never heard anything like it.
It's crazy. Do you remember one of the tracks that you played for him as well?
Yeah, I played him. I mean, I think I definitely played him some. I gave him the latest Tame Impala album.
Really?
Currents. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Oh, that's interesting, man. That's interesting. I mean, I feel like music's a really good way to get to know somebody. Like, I feel like it really helps to open up a relationship, because if you vibe together to the same music, it's a level of I don't know, how would I put it? It's you have a level of synchronicity over a track that you throw down.
Absolutely, and looking back at it, it's through music that I've had most of my relationships in my life. It's through music I have emotional bonds with my closest friends.
100%. I mean, I think it's fair to say everybody has a track from their childhood that really stands out to them. You have a track from when you're like a teen that stands out to when you're out with some friends and have a great time. For me personally, I have like tracks that remind me of separate summers, So yeah, music is super important to me. Did you get to head over to Tallinn when they were shooting at all, to Estonia?
I head out to the Eagle, Mount Eagle. Or sorry, the final battle of the movie. It takes place they actually shot that in California.
Okay, all right. So you went over to California for that shoot. That shoot was a big shoot, though, right? That looked insane.
Oh, it's the biggest production I've ever been to. And we had just like a month before that. My wife Serena and I had just delivered our first baby. So we were like brought out from the hospital and drove out to the desert, and like a couple of weeks later, and just are thrown into this massive scene. We drive into set, and we have like 10 huge helicopters above us. There's thousands extras in military gear, like running backwards. And there's Robert Pattinson in a military vehicle just driving straight up a cliff where we're standing, and it's like, what is this world?
I mean, look, when you're watching it, it's insane. So I can only imagine, because obviously without spoiling the story of the film, there is some massive set pieces, and what you just described is just this crazy war that's happening within the Tenet world where they're using all of the forces available to them, and that must have been an experience, man. And obviously, you know, you get to be part of the process, you got to see it, and then when you finally got to sit down and watch the film itself, I mean, how was it seeing all of those come together?
You know, it was that experience was nothing I experienced before. It was completely a different experience. It's when I got to see the film for the first time, you know, I had already written music, but when I get to see the footage that Chris and Hoyte shot, and seeing the acting and how many layers there are to it, and these images where you really make the audience feel like they're inverted. You know, the whole experience is through the protagonist's eyes and through his mind. And, you know, what was so unique about this movie is that as an audience member, you really feel like you're experiencing it from the protagonist's point of view. And you really feel like at point of the movie that you're inverted yourself.
100%. I feel like when the protagonist experiences inversion in the film, the sound followed that with me. Was that important for you to kind of try and portray this interesting experience of, I mean, reverse is the wrong way of putting it. It's inversion, isn't it? How did you kind of explain that to us with sound? Because I felt that change in the cinema.
Yeah, that's exactly, you're exactly right. And, you know, there's a very special scene in the movie where you see the protagonist going out inverted for the first time, and he steps out and he's stepping into a puddle of water, and you see it in reverse. You see the water come up to his shoe, and I think the way you see it, that's the way I wanted the music to sound like.
Yeah, I 100% know what you're talking about. Yeah,
and to be able to do that, I had to erase as much as I could the typical ways I usually record music. I wanted to reverse the entropy of an instrument and experiment with timing signatures to enhance the feeling of inversion. And I tried some completely new methods in how to make things sound reverse. For example, I recorded 3 percussion players. I had them play the main rhythm of the theme. I recorded them and then reversed the recording on my computer and played it for the musicians and asked them to emulate the recording. And that's extremely challenging, but if you have incredible musicians, they can get pretty close. So I recorded them and then I reversed it again. So there's the result of that is as close you can get with the player sounding like they actually play in reverse. And I did that method with the orchestra as well. Like it's not just playing phrases forwards and backwards. It's actually breaking down and reconfiguring the DNA of each musical phrase to exaggerate the way being inverted might feel. So, for instance, when the orchestra is playing the protagonist theme, we used an extreme approach to vibrato, which the violinist didn't like too much.
Can you say why that is? I don't think I can remember from my grade 1 violin lessons what vibrato is. So can you explain that for me in the audience, please?
So it's when they attack a note,
right?
You have a natural way of playing, like you're playing a note like ba, but I want it to be extreme, because if you play it, if you play it in a more extreme way, sorry for my voice during that, but if you play it in a more extreme way with an extreme vibrato and then reverse it, it's going to be a completely different experience. So in addition to the inversion, that when we reverse that sound, it was so effective at echoing the way it feels for example, during that, I don't know if you remember that really memorable overhead shot when you see the inverted waves crashing at the bow of the ship.
Yeah, man, that's trippy. That's a trippy shot as well. Yeah. So I remember that. Yeah. Okay.
So that's when I had the orchestra play the protagonist theme. I wrote the melody backwards. I recorded it, and then I reversed the recording again.
Wow. So you really actually did invert the music, and you also had like really pushed these professionals to play in ways that they hadn't before to get these sounds.
Yeah. And we had time. we had the time to do that. You know, we started out early in the process. We started out writing music early, and we started experimenting. And you know, it's it's interesting because as an audience member, when you go see a movie, you're already expecting what to hear. You're already, when you take a seat, you're already expecting, okay, well, I'm expecting a cinematic, you know, you're expecting a cinematic sound combined, an orchestra sound combined with electronics. So that's what you're expecting as an audience. But for this movie, like, Chris really wanted to push the boundaries in the audio and visual. So what I did was I had to manipulate every sound, and I manipulated the organic sounds with the electronic sounds. So at a lot of points in the movie or in the sound, you can't really tell what is what. And I think as an audience member, that's a very jarring experience.
Yeah, jarring, but also entertaining. So that's Ludwig Göransson. And this was meant to be the end of our best interviews of 2020. But guess what? We're going to play something which we've actually had a few messages about. So episode 378, we had a gentleman called Harry Mack on the show, who's an amazing freestyler. Phenomenal. You throw words at him, he can spit back verses and bars. Few people have said that they think we doctored the episode and cut some bits out. And they didn't think, you know, they kind of questioned the validity of it. Now, I'm here to be 100% honest here at How to Kill an Hour. Yes, the episode you did hear, we did chop bits up just so that you could get to the freestyle quicker. But why not? And also, it was also kind of recent, so it wasn't really something you can put on the best interviews of the year because it's a few episodes back. But I thought it'd be fair for us to kind of just to quash any of your poo-poo chewers, shit chatters, talking about Harry Mack not being a real freestyler. I thought I'd pull a clip of the full build-up to the freestyle and the reaction from myself and Dev. Now, the reason we get so excited about some of the words we did not mention just before he drops the freestyle is because he acts, without us asking, he actually just starts randomly pulling conversations that we had during the podcast episode and freestyling about those as well, which is absolutely insane. I suggest you listen to the whole of episode 378 because you actually hear about Harry's musical background and how being involved in music has helped him to build up his own freestyle style, which, if I'm honest, is second to none. Right, so I think we'd all be fools if you didn't think we were going to ask you not to freestyle for us today, Harry, after you gave us that smack talk about you are on your zenith right now, right? You could rap on your worst day.
Yeah.
How do you want to play this then? Man. How do you want to play it? How do we do this?
All right, so I got beats, so you guys just got to give me some inspo, man. Can I get some words from you guys?
Okay, cool. Like, does it have to just be singular words, or do we have to be like, how strict is it?
There's no rules, man. There's no rules. We're making it up right now.
Okay, cool. All right. Podcast, obviously, because that's what you're on right now, man.
Yep, podcast.
Podcast, kumquat.
Kumquat, yep.
Oh, you came. All right.
Brexit.
I
want to hear a line about Brexit, yeah.
All right. Podcast, kumquat, Brexit. Let me get one more.
How about How to Kill an Hour? You got to put How to Kill an Hour in there as well, right?
Yeah. How to Kill an Hour. All right, so podcast, kumquat, Brexit, and How to Kill an Hour.
All right.
That's like a How to Kill an Hour podcast.
All right, let's do it.
I'm going to mute myself then.
All right. Oh, hold up. I got to switch this to the...
Harry, just in case, are you able to record this on your side as well? We'll edit this bit out. Is that awkward now? If you can't, it's cool.
I think I can. Hold on. Let me I just got to get iTunes coming out the right speakers. Oh, here we go. Yup. All right, let's see about now. Hold on. Let me sorry guys, we're going to get this.
That's cool, man. This is what's good about
technical difficulties. Yeah, right. Let's see.
Kumquat Dev, you fucking asshole.
I love that. There we go. All right. We ready?
All right, cool.
Here we go. Yeah. 1, 2, 1, 2. Yeah. 1, 2, 1, 2. Yeah. 1, 2, 1, 2. Yeah. Yo, turn the mic up a level and let the guard blast. I'm reporting live all up on your podcast. Entering all types of zones. Y'all can hear my voice clear through the microphone. Man, I wish we was together all up in the same room. But COVID came through, so we had to use Zoom. Yeah, we solving problems and we using them remedies. Even though it's on the screen, I'm still feeling your energy. Yeah, you stepping in correct to Mack, you a dead man. I can share more energy through my webcam than most of these rappers can share in real life. Anytime I'm spitting lyrics, I cut through like steel knife. Yeah, hey yo, they said, dog, you gotta let the verse lay. You just told us you could still spit on your worst day. Lyrics, I'm reporting them to you. I still score mad points like I'm Jordan with the flu. Yeah, and y'all know I'm a rhyme for you. Hey yo, we gon' reach that level though of kinda blue. Yeah, I'm about to let you all know what I meant. I said right now we gon' hit 110%. Let's take it there. Yeah, let's take it there. Yeah, they step to Mack. I don't make it fair. Yeah, I make it real. Hey, I'm about to spill. Hey, I said don't spread it like the COVID cause my lyrics is ill. I break it down for my folks while I shine like a sunspot. Matter of fact, my lyrics, they be juicy like kumquat. Anytime I'm spitting, people know when I'm so loose. Yeah, I be fresher than your favorite produce. When it comes to spitting, I be causing more panic. Good for your health like kumquats when they organic. And y'all know that I'm flowing with ease. Kinda like a kumquat, it's growing from trees. What's growing from trees? Well, I'm talking my skill and I'm talking my paper cause I'm paying my bills. Yeah, talking my mentality, it grows from the roots. I said I got the type of lyrics that they couldn't compute. Y'all know I shine like a necklace. Your vibe, I affect this. My flow infectious. I'm controversial like Brexit. Yeah, and y'all know that I'm really spitting flames. Word to Brexit, these rappers getting out the game. Yeah, they removing themselves from all ties. When it comes to lyrics, y'all know that I'm all wise. Thinking about Brexit, it got me stressed. Cause when I read articles, it sounds like a mess. Yeah, but yo, I be living in the US. So if you wanna talk a mess, mine'll leave you depressed. Come on, I keep it honest every time that I spit. Anytime I'm kicking lyrics, they be throwing the fit. I got the power, rappers turn sour, they get devoured. I'm about to show you all how to kill an hour. It makes sense cause my freestyle skills are infinite. So I could keep rhyming like this for 60 minutes. Now gotta do a whole separate episode. It's just me, Harry Mack, letting go. They're like, we ain't even have a chance to ask no questions. He went for an hour from the microphone testing. I rhyme off suggestions, I use your words. Anytime I spit my lyrics, it's so fast that it's blurred. Yeah, hey yo, y'all know they a friend of my rap. How to kill an hour, y'all, we gon' end it like that. H Mack.
Yo, you covered the whole show. You covered the whole show. Killed it.
Nah. The fact that you have to listen to this podcast to understand what you just sewed into that's right, Harry, man. That's unfair.
Managed to get in the children with the flu line. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Appreciate y'all, man.
I forgot we even spoke about that, bro. How are you just putting that and making that rhyme? Crazy.
He's throwing in like footnotes from the podcast, not even main comments.
I wanted to give the little spark notes, for those who don't have time to listen to the whole thing. So there you go, but I hope they do. They better listen to the whole thing.
Yo,
hell yeah.
Has Harry like the whole time been making mental notes at everything we've been talking about just to put in the freestyle?
You know what? It's funny. A lot of people say that, but I don't do that. With improv, you quickly learn anything that you plan ahead is going to mess you up. So, and I learned that early on, just being in the cypher. When the other dude was rapping, you're thinking like, what's my first line going to be? You're looking around the room. Oh, I'm going to reference that. Oh, that'll be dope. Okay, I'm going to reference that. And then as soon as he passes you the mic, you try to say what you thought would be your first line and you mess up. And then you instantly like, well, that's out. And then you start freestyling and improvising for real, and it's great, right? So it's like we said, there are two different mindsets. There's writing and there's improvising, and they don't really go together in the same bag. So when you're planning out stuff in advance, like if we were talking and I was thinking of lyrics, I'd be writing, right? Trying to get it right ahead of time. And then I got to perform it correctly. And, when I'm improvising, there's no such thing as a mistake. I'm making it up right now. So
there you go. Even included technical issues with the computer as well, just for you naysayers out there. That was Harry Mack. That was episode 378 of How to Kill an Hour. This has been the second part of our best interviews of 2020. We're going to be taking a week off next week, and we'll be back the following week for How to Kill an Hour. Thank you for everything that you've done for us over the last few years, man. And we've had a really good 2020. So we just want to make sure that we realign ourselves, recharge, call back our spring, pull back the arrow in the bow so that we can release ourselves into 2021 and kick the fucking shit out of it with some great podcasts for you. If you can do us one small favor, it'd be just to share us with the world. At How to Kill an Arrow is what we are on all social medias, or just tell a mate to have a listen to our podcast and wherever they get theirs. Anyway, I've done enough playing of clips and enough talking on today's episode. Plenty of ways to kill some time out there. Thank you for killing some time with us.